In this video, we'll be taking a look at 5 NBA games happening on April 13, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 10 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 5 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Indiana Pacers versus Cleveland Cavaliers. On Sunday, the Indiana Pacers are set to face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers at Rocket Garden. This will mark the 4th time these two teams have met this season, both hailing from the NBA's Atlantic Division. Out of the previous 3 matchups, Indiana has come out on top twice, including a win on Thursday night in Indianapolis. Overall, these two teams have been evenly matched in recent history, splitting their last 10 head-to-head games both straight up and against the spread, sitting at 5-5 in both categories. The Pacers are still dealing with some injury issues, with Ben Shepherd and Isaiah Jackson expected to remain out. On the other side, the Cavaliers are taking a cautious approach, ruling out most of their regular starters ahead of this one. It's looking like Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton won't suit up either, as the Pacers travel to Cleveland for the final game of the regular season. With Indiana already locked into the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference standings, there's no real incentive to push their stars. New York owns the tiebreaker, so even if the Knicks lose and the Pacers win, they can't move up. At this point, getting their main guys some extra rest ahead of next weekend's playoff series against Milwaukee is the obvious call. The team is basically using this game as a tune-out before the postseason grind begins. As for Cleveland, they've already secured the top seed in the East and have nothing left to chase on the standings board. Their 64-17 record going into Sunday is impressive, but they can't catch Oklahoma City for the league's best overall record, since the Thunder are sitting at 67 wins. That won't be much of a concern for the Cavs, who've already surpassed what most people thought they'd do this season. Earlier in the week, even with a bunch of backups on the floor, they nearly pulled off an upset against Indiana, losing by only 2 as big underdogs. Then, once Garland, Mobley, and Allen returned, they pulled off a wild comeback at Madison Square Garden, rallying from 23 points down to beat the Knicks. Given everything, I wouldn't count on seeing many starters for either team in this one. That makes it a little surprising that Indiana is favored by 5.5 points. Cleveland has been tough at home all year. They've won 10 of their last 12 home games and 15 of 18 against teams from the East. When the Pacers rested players earlier this week against Orlando, they got lit up for 129 points by a team that isn't known for its offense. Meanwhile, Cleveland has managed to keep playing sharp basketball with their bench guys, grabbing wins over both the Knicks and Bulls, and nearly knocking off Indiana on the road despite being double-digit dogs. With the same matchup now happening in Cleveland and Indiana expected to go with a second-string lineup again, it makes sense to lean toward the Cavs, especially on their home court where they've gone 34-6 this season. As our first pick for this matchup, the Cleveland Cavaliers to cover the spread as underdogs is our full-game side pick. Both Cleveland and Indiana have been among the stronger teams in the Eastern Conference all year, and they're entering the playoffs in good form. But with the regular season winding down and both teams focused on the postseason, don't expect to see much from the starters in this one. That's probably going to lead to a dip in defensive focus on both sides. These are two teams that like to push the pace, even with their regular lineups. When you throw in a bunch of hungry reserves trying to make their mark, it's easy to see the game becoming a bit more wide open and less structured than usual. Indiana ranks 7th in the league in pace, and Cleveland isn't far behind at 10th, so there should be a good number of possessions in this one. The lack of defensive pressure, combined with the faster tempo and fresh legs off the bench, could easily lead to more scoring. The last time these two met, they totaled 226 points, and just 2 nights ago, the Pacers let Orlando hang 125 on them. Cleveland's likely going to want to put on a show in front of their home fans for the final game of the regular season, especially with playoff excitement building. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Detroit Pistons versus Milwaukee Bucks. The Detroit Pistons, sitting at 44-37 on the season, are gearing up to face the Milwaukee Bucks, who currently stand at 47-34 in what will be the last regular season game for both squads. These two teams have already clashed 3 times this season, with Milwaukee winning every time. The most recent game took place just this past Friday, when the Bucks came into Detroit and edged out a 125-119 win, managing to pull off the victory even though they entered the game as 5-point underdogs. Detroit will still be without 2 key pieces, Isaiah Stewart and Ausar Thompson, who are both ruled out for this one. On the other side, Milwaukee is expected to rest several of their main contributors as well, including Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, and Gary Trent Jr., with both teams already locked into their playoff positions and neither at risk of falling into the play-in tournament. The decision to rest starters is a no-brainer. The Bucks have dealt with a number of injuries all season long, and this game offers a great opportunity for them to take a breather. In the meantime, some of their young guys, Ryan Rollins, AJ Green, and Andre Jackson Jr. have gotten meaningful minutes during the year and should continue to get more run in this one. Detroit, already one of the youngest rosters in the league, will be leaning even harder on their less experienced players. With a first-round showdown against the Knicks on deck, getting everyone rested and back to full strength is a priority. Don't expect to see any of the star players in action during this game, as both Milwaukee and Detroit already know who they're facing in the first round of the playoffs. In fact, as of the time this was recorded, the Bucks had already confirmed they'd be sitting pretty much their entire starting group. It's only a matter of time before the Pistons follow suit. The Bucks have had Detroit's number lately, winning 12 games in a row in this matchup. That includes Friday's road win where they covered the spread as a 4.5-point underdog. As our first pick for this matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. With both teams firmly in the postseason and nothing on the line, expect to see deep rotations and a lot of guys who usually ride the bench get extended minutes. These players are going to come out hungry, looking to make the most of their time on the floor. That usually means a lot of quick shots and not a whole lot of effort on defense. Because these lineups haven't played much together, defensive communication and help defense are likely to fall apart more often than not. And with big-name rim protectors like Giannis or Jalen Duren barely seeing the court, it's going to open up driving lanes all game long. Points should come easy. Detroit likes to push the pace. They rank 6th in possessions per game, so expect a fast, high-scoring affair in Milwaukee. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Charlotte Hornets versus Boston Celtics. The NBA is serving up an Eastern Conference clash this Sunday, featuring the Charlotte Hornets squaring off against the Boston Celtics. For Charlotte, it's another trip back to the lottery after a season that didn't amount to much. On the flip side, Boston's locked in as the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference and is gearing up to defend its title. Charlotte comes into the matchup nearly whole, with the exception of LaMelo Ball sitting out. Boston, on the other hand, is keeping several big names on the bench, including Derek White, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Jaylen Brown. The Celtics cruised to a lopsided win over the Hornets on Friday, but this rematch is shaping up a bit differently. Boston starters are sitting this one out, and that opens the door a bit for the Hornets if they come ready to play. Boston probably sees this game as a final tune-up before the real grind begins. Honestly, it's hard to see Boston putting any of its stars on the court with their playoff position set in stone. Meanwhile, the Hornets are in disarray, coming into this one having lost 9 of their last 10. Both straight up and against the spread. Boston stomped them by 36 points just 2 days ago, and they barely had to try in the first half. Even when Boston rests their top guys, their second unit can still get the job done. Charlotte's been brutal on the road, only managing to win 7 games away from home all season. Against the spread, they're sitting at 36-43-2, even though they're usually underdogs by a wide margin. As our first pick for this matchup, the Boston Celtics to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. The Hornets have struggled all year at both ends of the court. Offensively, they're near the bottom of the league, sitting at 29th in efficiency and averaging just 104 points per 100 possessions. Now they're up against Boston's defense, which is ranked 5th and gives up only 108 points per 100 possessions. Charlotte hasn't cracked the 100-point mark in their last 3 outings. It's also important to point out that Boston plays at one of the slowest paces in the league, just 97.8 possessions per game, ranking 29th. Charlotte isn't much faster, coming in at 20th. This game has all the makings of a slow, clunky battle. With Boston resting starters and Charlotte's offense already sputtering, it's tough to expect a shootout. Boston still defends well, even with backups, and Charlotte's been ice-cold offensively. Boston has gone under the total in 3 of its last 5 games. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Chicago Bulls versus Philadelphia 76ers. On Sunday, the Chicago Bulls will head over to Wells Fargo Center to take on the Philadelphia 76ers. This will be the 5th time these two Eastern Conference teams face off this season. Out of the 4 games they've already played, the 76ers came out on top in 3. Looking back at their last 10 meetings, both teams are tied at 5 wins each, both straight up and against the spread. Interestingly, 7 of those 10 games ended with the total going under. The Bulls are dealing with a few injuries, missing Josh Giddey, Lonzo Ball, and Tre Jones once again. On the other side, the 76ers are still without some major names: Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Kyle Lowry, just to start. Even with the Bulls missing a few guys, they're still in better shape health-wise than Philly, who has been throwing out bench players for what feels like forever. Chicago's got a head of steam right now, and with how rough the 76ers have looked, this one could turn into a breeze for the Bulls. There's a shot for the 76ers to pull off a win here, mainly because the Bulls are probably going to rest most of their rotation since they already locked in a spot in the play-in. But honestly, Philly's been terrible at both winning games and covering spreads all season, so that doesn't really move the needle. They dropped 9 of their last 10, and they only managed to cover in 2 of those. With just a 34.5% cover rate, they are at the bottom of the NBA in that stat, and not by a little. It doesn't really matter who the Bulls put on the floor. Betting against the 76ers blindly this season has been one of the easiest decisions out there. No reason to stop now. As our first pick for this matchup, the Chicago Bulls to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Philly's season has been in a tailspin, especially when facing teams in their own conference. They've lost 19 of their last 20 games against the East. Their offense is ranked 22nd in the league now, and they're near the bottom when it comes to pace. Chicago likes to play fast, but with this game not meaning much to either side, the Bulls are expected to pull back and take it easy. 7 of the last 8 games between these teams have ended under the total, and this one is shaping up to follow that same script. Both teams will probably be coasting to the finish line. The 76ers are one of the slowest teams in the league when it comes to pace, sitting at 25th overall. They're going into this game missing most of their lineup, and that's left them with very little offensive power. They've been scoring just 106 points per game over their last 10. While Chicago usually puts up points and likes to push the tempo, they'll likely ease off here with the play-in looming and nothing really at stake in this game. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. New York Knicks versus Brooklyn Nets. The New York Knicks, currently holding a 50-31 record, are set to close out their regular season with a crosstown showdown against the Brooklyn Nets. This one wraps up the year with a local rivalry that's always good for a little bit of buzz, even if both teams are in very different places right now. The Knicks are coming off a tough loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, while the Nets took a hit on the road against the Minnesota Timberwolves. In terms of health, both teams are walking into this one with more questions than answers. New York is keeping tabs on Josh Hart, Og Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, and Karl Anthony Towns, who are all listed as questionable. On the other side, Brooklyn has Reese Beekman and Zaire Williams carrying the same tag. The Knicks have already clinched the 3rd seed in the East, so there's really no reason for them to push their starters. With injury concerns and the playoffs around the corner, the plan is pretty clear: give the main guys a break. Most of the Knicks starters average about 35 minutes a night, and this game is a good excuse to sit them and give the younger players a shot at real NBA minutes. Meanwhile, the Nets have been rolling with their younger squad for a while now. After some midseason trades and injuries, Brooklyn hit full rebuild mode, and it's given them a decent look at what they've got moving forward. Most of the rotation guys who will be suiting up have already been playing together, and there's some chemistry there. The Knicks, on the other hand, will likely roll out a group of bench and G League players who haven't seen much action this year, and it's going to show. New York has dominated this rivalry lately, winning 9 straight against Brooklyn. The last time they lost to the Nets was all the way back in January 2023, but this game is shaping up to be very different. With the playoff spot locked and health being a priority, the Knicks are expected to sit just about every key player. That's why the smart smart play seems to be leaning Brooklyn's way. They've been running this version of their roster for a while now, so there's not much new for them to figure out. It's not a flashy lineup, but it's familiar. The Knicks, in contrast, are about to toss a bunch of guys into the deep end who haven't gotten much run all year. That adjustment is going to take time, and Brooklyn could take advantage early. Also worth noting, even though the Nets haven't won a ton of games, they've been sneaky solid against the spread, covering in 42 of 81 games so far. Only a dozen teams in the league have a better than 50% cover rate, and Brooklyn's one of them. As our first pick for this matchup, the Brooklyn Nets to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Offense hasn't been Brooklyn's strong suit this season, no matter who's been on the court. They're dead last in the league in field goals made per game, and it's not much better when you look at efficiency, ranking second to last in field goal percentage and 25th in three-point percentage. But where they've managed to make up some ground is on defense. The Nets are 7th in the NBA when it comes to limiting opponents' threes, and they're also top 10 in fewest field goals allowed overall. For this game, the Knicks will be missing almost their entire regular lineup, so it'll be a group of two-way players and call-ups doing most of the work. With that kind of inexperience on the floor, expect New York to slow things down and play a very deliberate style. That mix of limited offense and conservative tempo from both sides should keep the scoreboard quiet. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.